Right, so we're here today at Weston Pools for the open match on Stretton and Belvedere. It's the 10th of April and it's been very cold the last couple of days and I feel like it's going to be quite a tough match. I've drew peg 6 on Stretton, as you can see. It's in a narrower area of the lake. So I've got an island to fish to, so dobbing bread tactics is probably going to be the way I'm going to start my match. It's been a Veterans Festival on the last 3 days and it's had a lot of pressure, so I don't feel like the fish are going to want to come to any bait until probably later in the match. So I'm going to take it easy to start with, just dob a bit of bread about, and then hopefully later on we'll be catching on the maggot lines down the middle. So the match is going to start in about 15 minutes. Hopefully we'll have a good day. Right, so close to starting the match now, and like I said, to start with, I'm just going to have a bit of a dob and see what's going on before I commit to feeding a lot of bait on any of my lines. The only line I am going to feed some bait on is on my 30 metre line in the deep water. I'm just going to put a few maggots in and try and build that up through the day for later on. Any of my other lines I'm going to feed, I'm just going to do as and when I want to go on him. So, like I say, start with, I'm just going to have a dob about. Might not catch anything on bread, but hopefully we might go in, catch a few early carp, and there is some big fish in this lake. So, probably about 30 seconds to the all in. So, fingers crossed for a good day. Just going to put about 100 maggots on my long line, just with a big pot. Not going to loose feed anything to start. I'm just going to pot everything because, like I say, it has gone cold. It is going to be a bit more difficult today, and I just want to make sure I'm stacking the odds in my favour and getting a few bites. Right, so that's the all in just gone. I'm just going to pop my long line and then hopefully go in on bread and get a few bites. So, like I say, 100 maggots on my long line. Just give them a dunk in the water so they stick in my pot. Just, like I say, just going to pot everything to start with today. I think that gives me the best chance of getting some bites and hopefully catching some decent fish. Just pot them in. Get my extra sections on for getting across. Quite a wide peg here today. It's like full 16 metres to get across to that far bank, but it's usually quite good for an odd carp, so I think by starting there on bread gives me half a chance of going in, hopefully getting a decent fish quite soon. But sort of looking at the weights the last couple of days, it just keeps dropping, obviously with the pressure of the anglers that have been on the festival this week, and obviously it's been cold. We've had a few frosts. I think last night it was down to -3. So I think just taking it steady at the start is going to be the way to go. So just start in front of me, and then I can have a bit of a search around, see if I can find some fish. Just drop my back shot down. What you might be able to see is I've got quite a long length of line between my float and my pole, and I think that's really important when you're dobbing fish, especially today. The water's really clear. I just think that slightly longer length of line between float and pole tip should just hopefully help me to not spook any fish. Like I said, I'm just going to be patient on this. I'm going to see if anyone catches feeding before I commit to feeding anything across there. I just think these carp are just going to be balled up with the cold nights. Probably bread's going to be the best option. So, not going to give it too long in one particular spot. I'm just going to sit there for sort. Oh, I've had a little sign there, and straight away I've hooked the fish on bread. Good start to the match. Hopefully it's a nice big F1 or a carp. Ooh, might have fouled up that fish. The problem with this peg, it's quite difficult to snap me actually. Quite difficult to unship your pole, you're having to break it down, so it's quite difficult really. But go back in. Good sign that I've had a bite straight away. So straight back out. I'll have to be a bit more careful I think next time when I'm unshipping. That is the issue with this peg, because obviously I'm going a long way and I'm having to double ship. Straight in again on bread, so obviously there's a few fish sat there. Just have to take my time with this one. It's a nice thing about, like, if you draw this peg where you can get across to the far bank, you can normally guarantee yourself a few bites across there early in the match. So I think them carp, especially if we have a cold night like we have at the minute, all gang up against that far bank in the reeds. And obviously it's the shallowest water over there, so as soon as the sun comes out during the morning, everything wants to come up and sit in that shallower water across there. So obviously don't need too many of these. Obviously I rushed that first fish a little bit trying to get my sections apart. Probably caught me by surprise, to be fair. I thought it was an F1. Water's clear. Every time that fish comes close to the surface, it turns, it can see me net. No need to rush these sort of fish. It's obviously, yesterday, I think 40 pound was a good weight on this lake, and that's a fish of probably 7 pound a common. So I don't think I'll need too many of them. I'm going to do okay today. So that's a good start on bread. It looks like there's a few fish there. Just keep going on this line, hopefully there's a few more there to catch. Same again, just same spot where I've caught, straight in front of me. I think that's a good tip when you're dobbing bread. Start straight in front of you, and then you're not pushing the fish out your peg straight away. If there is a few there, I want to try and maximise the length of time where I'm going to catch some. So if I was to start left and right, I'm automatically pushing the fish too far out of my peg. So just starting in front of me gives me the best chance of catching for as long as possible. So ooh. See, I've just missed the bite there. That could have been a line of that. It's the only thing with bread. If you do miss a bite, you do generally have to come back. Started on a 7.5mm punch today, which I think's a nice size for both F1s and carp. If it is mainly carp, I think maybe I've got a 9mm punch as well. That could be a little bit better to try and target just a better fish. But to start with, I'm obviously not sure what's going to be in front of me, whether it's going to be mainly carp or mainly F1. So I'm just starting on a 7mm punch, 7.5mm punch. Just try and steady my pole. Straight away then I've actually had a little sign on the way down, so I think it could be the case that I might want to shallow up a little bit. It's around 3.5 foot across there, and I've started it about 2.5 foot deep, around a foot off bottom. Again, a little sign straight away. I'm going to come back and check that float. I think could do with popping a little trimmer off, or just putting a little blob of bristle grease on the float, just so it sticks up a bit more. Just took a little trimmer off. Hopefully that should sit there a bit better. Looking around the lake, I haven't seen much else caught, so I think I've definitely done the right thing starting on bread. Again, little sign straight away. Don't know whether that could be a few small fish over there. There is some smaller fish, some eyed, and some crucians and stuff. Sometimes can miss a few bites on bread, so maybe again a bigger punch might be better. Ooh, little sign again then. I'm already thinking about shallowing up a touch, maybe to 2 foot. Yeah, you see just what I thought, to be honest. I thought there was a few small fish across there. That looks like a little Crucian. So potentially next chuck I'll go out on a bigger piece of bread, so that hopefully I can sit there and wait for a better fish. It's nice to obviously get a bite off the Crucian, but if I'm going to 16 metres I want to be coming back with a proper fish if I'm going to be shipping in and out, I think. So like I say, straight away, because I am getting a few small fish bites, I've just caught that Crucian. I've put a 9mm piece of bread on. Now hopefully I should just be able to sit there and wait for a proper fish. Ooh. Straight away again, a little bite. There's clearly a few fish there. Yeah, that looks like a better fish. Definitely made the right decision starting on bread. Definitely a few fish there. Just ganged up against that far bank. Anyone who knows Weston will know these carp in here are absolutely crazy. They don't half fight. But hopefully if I just take my time, I'll be able to get him in. Like I say, really difficult peg for shipping back. It makes it quite difficult. Wrapped around the line, that one. We've got him. Bit of a smaller carp, but it's a good start to the match. I've got sort of over £10 now, and with £40 yesterday, like I say, being a good weight, I'm quartering my way there to what I think I'm probably going to need for a decent result. So I'm going to go back in on that bigger piece of bread. And keep an eye on the time, because obviously I'm going to want to feed me maggot line sort of every half an hour, so 20 minutes in now. I'll be looking to feed me maggot line again in the next 10 minutes, just to keep that topped up for later in the day. missed a bite there. I do think there is quite a few small fish across there. It might just be something I am going to have to put up with today, having to ship back a few times in. Rebaiting. Another thing what I'm going to do, just going to shallow up by a few inch. Hopefully. Just to try and find that depth where most of my bites should then be positive bites. Again, I'm looking around, I've not seen a great deal caught. I think I've seen the lad 2 pegs down to me right's caught a fish, looks like a reasonable fish, a carp. He'll be feeding maggots, I'd have probably thought. Feels like another carp, or another decent fish anyway. F1 or carp, little F1 actually. Smaller F1, probably £1.25. Well, I think I'm going to get my head down on this bread for a little bit. And we'll probably catch you up when something changes. Right, so obviously I had that good start early on bread. Caught them few carp, did lose that first fish. But now I swapped to feeding some pellets across and I'm just catching crucians. Obviously that's what was happening on bread. I sat there waiting. And every time I caught a fish, there was a little crucian, so obviously I don't feel like there was a lot of carp across there now. I think obviously they've just backed off into the space. And it's no good, you know, shipping pellets across for them crucians because I just can't put a big enough weight in the net fast enough. I need to really be able to catch them short if I can. But I'm on this maggot line now, loose feeding a few maggots, 10 or 12 maggots twice. I'm coming back with a crucian pretty much every chuck. And obviously because I'd got a few fish early, I just think, just keep putting them in the net. No one's really catching a lot of fish, from what I can see. So I think just keep putting these fish in the net and just let me peg naturally develop later on in the match when some better fish are likely to want to feed. I don't think there's a lot else you can do other than just put them in the net. Actually see so many of them in my peg. I must have just pricked that one. Maggot had folded back around my hook point. I've also started to throw some maggots on a short line, around 6 metres. Again, if I can catch these fish there, I'll be able to put weight in my net a lot faster. I mean, so many of them there. I can't see why not later in the session I might be able to catch them a bit closer. And obviously I can put weight in the net a lot faster. It's nice to be getting some bites. Obviously it's been so cold the last few nights. Been down to -3 last night. I just think as long as I'm putting a few fish in my net, I'm doing okay. So, you can actually see how clear the water is. You can tell obviously we've had a massive drop in temperature. When I'm throwing them maggots in, you can see them quite a long way down. Just folding my rig on top of my bulk, try and get down as quick as possible. So obviously come back with a fish as efficiently as possible. If I keep, laying my rig in through the water, it's great when you're just trying to catch an odd fish and fall an odd fish when there's a lot of fish in your peg. So that fish again off the bottom. I do think a few fish are starting to come off the bottom now, which obviously makes it difficult to get into a rhythm unless I can catch them shallow. So I've set a couple of little deep shallow rigs because obviously with it being such a cold morning, now it's quite bright, there's always a chance of them fish coming up in the water because that's where it's going to be warmest. I think yesterday there was a Veterans Festival and Harry Billing was actually on this peg, and I think he caught 30 odd 40 pound of these crucians. So they obviously, if you can catch enough of them, they're worth catching. Because if I can catch 30 pound of these crucians mixed in with them fish what I caught earlier, and then hopefully catch a few better fish later on, I don't think that'll be too far off today. Something a bit different, that's the nice thing about Weston, there's such a variety of fish. Not many places you can go and have a day catching a load of crucians. Definitely think what I'm going to do, get my head down for the next sort of 20 minutes, half an hour. So I only really just started feeding this short line, and then I'm definitely going to have a look in on it, See if I can catch them there and catch them a bit quicker. So obviously when you are trying to catch a lot of small fish like this, it's important to try and be as efficient as possible. And one thing I made the mistake this morning is, obviously I put my long 4th section in, obviously to get across. So on this maggot line, I was fishing with my long 4th section in, and obviously with the bank being quite awkward behind me for shipping, I was having to break down, and I just couldn't get into a nice enough rhythm to catch a lot of these small fish. So straight away, come back and I've put my short number 4 on. So not only is that made my pole stiffer, but it means I can get my pole back all in one go. And it just allows me to be a lot more efficient. Just quickly as well, what I thought I'd talk about is the rig what I'm using for this maggot line. We'll cover it in a bit more detail at the end, but it's probably around 5 foot here, so I'm using a 4x14 Maggie, and I've just got it set with a bulk and 2 droppers, bulk number 9s and 2 number 10 droppers. That just allows me, like I say, to get me rig down nice and quick, because there's so many fish there feeding. It's actually no point waiting for it to settle. You just want to get it down. Oh, foul looked on then. Let's drop it back in. Just want to get it down and get on with it, and just let your droppers do the work in the last little 18 inch of water. And then I've just got 6-inch hook length of 012 and an 18 Super LWG, which I think is about right for maggots. The elastic as well is something quite important to talk about. I want to be able to ship my pole back nice and quick without running the risk of bumping these fish. I have actually pulled out of a few fish, but Pink Hydro, what I'm using today, it's nice and soft on the strike. I can ship my pole back nice and fast without worrying about pulling out of too many fish. But if I am to hook a better fish like a carp, I should still have no problem landing it. Yeah. Keep them maggots going in short. So, obviously, I'd been out on that maggot line catching them crucians, trying to put plenty of fish in the net, and I was loose feeding some maggots. And I was getting quite a few hold-ups, so I just thought I'd pick up my little shallow rig and see if that's any better. And I've just caught a couple of fish on it. Just a little strung out Maggie, 3 strung out number 11s. Set it about 3.5 foot. And just lay it past. And hopefully I'm going to catch some better fish on this. I think when there's a cold morning and then you get a bit of sun, it doesn't take a lot for them fish to want to come up in the water. And what I'm still doing all the time is throwing that short line, because I do think if I'm going to catch a big enough weight of these crucians, I'm going to have to catch them short, because they're reasonable fish, but to build a weight up, I do feel like I need to be catching them a bit faster than this. Just missed a couple of signs, so maybe might be worth me just shallowing up a touch. What I also need to work out is, obviously I was shipping a fish back pretty much every chuck, fishing on the bottom, and if this is no faster, I'm obviously wasting time on it, and I need to pick my bottom rig back up. Just going to shallow it up a couple of inch. All I'm looking for is just find that depth where I can go in and hit a bite straight away. I need it to be as fast as possible if I'm going to catch a weight. Right, so there's about 2 hours left now. And I've been catching crucians steady away long. Caught a few shallow. I've actually had a couple of F1 shallow as well. It's just gone a bit funny, and I thought, because I've now fed a lot of bait long because I was catching shallow, and I fed a bit more regular, but I'll just back off the feed on that long line and have a look short. First chuck I've gone in, caught a decent F1. What's really noticeable is a lack of indication short. So like on that long line, I'm getting indications all the time, and there's a lot of crucians in my peg, and I can't actually sit and be patient and wait for a proper fish. Where short, I'm able just to feed a little bit of bait, drop my rig on it, sit and be patient, which is nice really. And I've probably just caught 2 fish there for probably £5, 2 big F1s. So it's looking quite good actually. I think if I can have a little run in now, maybe nip back out and catch a few more crucians if it goes a bit funny, and then have one really good late run on this line, then I could do alright. Probably got 30-ish pound, 35 pounds, something like that. Like I say, looking at the weights yesterday, 40 pound obviously won a section, I think 70 pound won the lake. 30-ish pound with 2 hours to go isn't too bad. So slowing down the regularity of feed on my long line, still catching a few maggots there, but not as regular. Because obviously if I do want to go back out, fish on the bottom, I don't want too many maggots there, so I'll have problems with maybe missing a few bites and it's just be a bit funny. So It's just nice now on this line, if I can be nice and patient, catch some proper fish. It could be really good. All I've done on this line, because obviously I'm not getting loads of signs, is I've just put my medium pot on. Just allows me to pot sort of 30 maggots in dead accurate over my rig. And then I can just hold my float right on top of that bit of bait I've fed. Sit and wait. Keep just pinging an odd maggot out long. It's been a really strange match today, really, with how many Crucians have fed. Not really been able to be patient enough to catch some proper fish. But it seems like on this line, for whatever reason, them Crucians don't want to come this close. It's just allowing me just to sit there and wait. Sometimes if you've sat there for a little while after you've potted your bait in, you just want to make something happen, just throw in a few maggots in, not loads, 10 maggots twice, just make a bit of noise and create a bit of falling bait. You can just get your bite. So I'm just going to see what happens. I'm going to see if this carries on going. Ooh, little indication. That feels like a nice fish. You can tell, obviously, in this last week, the fish have slowed right down. I'm only on pink hydro there, and that's barely pulled any out. So it's important to read the conditions. As soon as that water cools down, then fish will slow right up. So dropping down my elastic today, just make sure I can land everything I hook. So again, that was probably around £1.5 pounds. So I've got £22 on my clicker, and that's in my right net. And then I've got my silverfish net with my Crucians in. Must have at least £10 of them Crucians, so £35-ish. I'm not doing too bad. Pop my maggots in again. Drop my bulk. Hold my float just out of the water, wait for it to straighten out. Just lower it in. All the while I can just keep pinging a few maggots in long. Because I don't feel like I'm going to catch here till the end of the match. It's not solid, it's not quick, but there is an odd decent fish here, so I think maybe I can catch a few now and then maybe feed it up again for sort of half an hour, 40 minutes. Then I can get a bit of a run down here. Something else I will do as well, with it being a bright day, is I will feed a bit of bait right at the end on the pallet to my left. just in the hope that maybe some fish will turn up there as well if I need to. If I feel like I need a line to potentially catch me some better fish to try and push me peg a bit later on, I will have a look down there, but I think at the minute I'll just stick with my deep water lines. Right, so I've just come off that short line. I did catch 3 F1s there, which has been a bonus today because obviously not caught too many better fish. Just missed a little bite. But what's actually started happening is the lad on peg 4 on the end there, he's gone in down the edge. He started to catch some better fish. He just had a carp, so I feel like it's no good me just getting my head down trying to catch crucians. Now I have to try and catch some better fish, so I've potted my edge. Fed with a big pot, I've probably fed 100 maggots. And I'm just going to loose feed me short line again. Increase the feed there a bit. Try and force it to come good late on. And what I've also done is cut out my loose feed on my long line and just started potting it with a slightly bigger pot, a large pot, and swapped to fishing with 3 maggots on the hook, because I need now for when it to go under it to be an F1 if I can. And I've just caught one not long ago after swapping. I have missed a few bites. I think there's still a few crucians in my peg, but just getting to the stage where I need to catch some quality fish. Now peg 4's just hooked another one in the edge, so it needs to happen. It needs to happen quick, I think, now. Otherwise I think I'm just going to fall behind. See, it's another Crucian by the looks. Just going to put a few more maggots back in down the edge. I just don't feel like I'm going to catch on it yet here. Like, obviously he's got a bit of space to his left there on peg 4, so more likely to catch a little bit earlier down the edge. But I'd rather just pot it and leave it till sort of the last hour, because I don't think I need much of a run. If I can have a good last hour, I think I should be okay. So I'm just fishing just short of that pallet leg. Just potting sort of 100 maggots in. I'm going to loose feed some more on the short line. Like I say, I've got to try and make it happen now. Right, so it's been slow after. I had a little run, like I say, short, and then I went out and tried to force it a bit more long and feed a bit more bait to try and catch some better fish. Some carp or an F1. And I've not had anything really long, a few more crucians. Obviously carried on loose feeding me short line. Probably rested it for half an hour. I've had a look there. Not had a bite there. Caught a perch. Just doesn't seem to be anything there. The lad on peg 4's had a few carp down his edge to his left. He's doing well now. He's catching. He's had a few F1s as well. So I feel like I need to catch some decent fish now. Like, half an hour catching crucians can probably be wiped out by one fish what he's catching now down his edge, so I sort of need to catch some decent fish somewhere, but not had an indication in the edge yet, and I can't catch short, so it's a tough one. The only other thing I can really think what might be a good option is maybe if I start up a new line, a fresh line long, just pop some maggots in, maybe not so many crucians will be there, maybe they'll just stay on the original line what I've fed, and I might be able to nick a few better fish there, but honestly I'm a bit lost for what to do for the best now. It's one of them things, it's a bit of a gamble now to try and catch some better fish, but I almost feel like I have to, so well, that was a little small indication then. Just decided, because I've not seen anything really getting caught on pellets, so obviously just feed maggots in this edge. I think that's the main bait what the fish are eating, what gives me the best chance of catching some fish. Could have fed something like hard pellets or something down here, try and catch some carp, but just doesn't fit. It seems to be fishing well enough. It's just trying to feed something that will bring some fish into my peg. I think try feeding it a couple more times down this edge, 2 or 3 more feeds, and if it doesn't go, I may be looking to plumb up another line long. See, the lad on 4's just caught another in the edge. Obviously the last few weeks peg 2's been the dominant peg on this lake in the corner, and Darren's decided to leave it out today just to try and even the match up as much as he can, but I think some of them fish obviously that have sat in the corner late on have decided to venture up to peg 4. He's catching well there now. Feed again. Keep throwing some maggots short. You just never know, you've got to keep feeding all your lines. The thing is, if you do have a late arrival and they do decide to have a feed, you can do a wait really quick down the edge on here, because you normally catch a decent stamp of fish. But not had masses of indications. I missed one little bite Oh, right. Like I say, probably on the touch on the heavy side for these F1s, this elastic, but I need to fish a proper elastic, otherwise I could run the risk of losing the carp. Problem I've got now is, like, even though I've just caught another so's peg 4, so it's making it difficult for me to catch up, really, to be honest. I think I've probably got 40-ish pound. Hopefully a touch more. Got sort of 8 F1s and 2 carp in me better fish net, and then me Crucians, which I'm hoping I've got around 15 pound of them. So same again, pop my maggots in, try and sneak them in because it is quite deep. If a carp does come into me peg, the last thing I need is to foul hook it. I want to make sure I can get a clean bite and hook it in the top lip and it's coming in. So, still been loose feeding me short line. I've stopped loose feeding me long line now because I just feel like if I am gonna frame and do well, I need to catch short or in the edge now. But I'm keeping some bait going in short. Still think there's a chance, if this does slow up, that I do get a late arrival there, because I did catch 3 decent fish quite quick when I first had a look there early on. Right, so I caught them 2 in the edge and then I've had no more, so potted it again and I've had a look back in short, and like last time I was in short I caught a perch and I had no real signs, but I've just caught that really quick, so hopefully there's some turned up there again. The lad next to me on 4 has carried on catching a few. He's not had loads, but I definitely think he's a little bit ahead of me, and he's just caught one now. So I need to have a good run on this line, and that was a good sign that I've just had a bite so quick on it. So fingers crossed. Got to get a little run. Still 35 minutes to go. And like with how hard it is today, you can quite easily still sort of pull it back if I have a good run. No, I don't think anyone's going to have a massive weight unless they've caught up that top end in the bowl where I can't really see anyone. Right, so About 5 minutes left of the match, and none of my lines have really happened. They've caught 3 F1s in this edge, caught 2 quite quick, one after the other, and then I've potted it again and rested it and had a look short. Caught 2 short and I caught an hide. And just with obviously just 10 minutes to go, I thought I'm going to have another look in this edge, because really I need a bonus carp or something just to boost my weight up. And I've gone back in and I've just caught a small F1. So hopefully I might get one right at the end. Just feel like the water's so clear today. See, that was a little sign. Water's so clear today. Once you've caught a fish off a line, or a couple of fish, everything else just spooks off. Maybe it'd have been better off having a couple of lines short, and I might have been able to rotate them and keep catching a few. The only line I've really been able to catch on with any consistency is the long pole, but I've only really caught them Crucians there, and to be honest, I thinned them out a bit and it slowed down. So even there I was only catching an odd one. So I've just upped another in the edge now. So feels like another F1. But I'll definitely take it at this stage. Another smallish F1. I think maybe if I had fished a bit of a lighter rig down this edge, might have caught a few more F1s in. Maybe I've made a mistake fishing a bit heavier, but the problem is, I know what it's like on this lake, there's so many carp in here. And they're quite big, so if you do up one, you want to make sure you get it in. Far too often I've done it where I've scaled down and hooked the carp and lost it, and like, I've already lost a big carp today, I can't afford to lose another. So we're just going to have a quick conclusion from the day. I've ended up with £58.12, which was just enough to win the lake. Cole Mercer has had £58.11, so I've just managed to beat him by 1 ounce. And the lad on 4, who I'd actually thought had quite a bit more than me, to be fair, has ended up with £58.3, so he was really tight on this lake. I just think seeing him catch a few down the edge late on made me think he'd sort of caught me up or overtook me, where, you know, he hadn't caught a lot early in the match and I'd caught them Crucians. So I think sometimes it's better to get the blinkers on and just get your head down. On the Belvedere, that's been won with £80 on peg 18, so well done to the winner on there. Don't think I could have caught £80, but I definitely could have caught a bit more. I lost that carp first chuck, you know, not struggling to get my sections undone. I should have got that in, but all in all, quite happy with the result. Won the lake. It's fished really difficult, but managed to winkle out a few fish in the end. Right, so just going to talk through the rigs. The first rig is the bread rig for a cross, and the elastic is an 11 hollow elastic. The reason I've gone for the 11 hollow is I was expecting to catch a few carp, some big fish, but I also needed something that when I was fishing at 16 metres, when I hooked them, I could ship back quick, and if I hooked an F1, it wasn't going to bump any F1s. I didn't want to go up to something like 13 hollow, which would have probably been better for carp, and then hook an F1 that was a bit docile on bread and lose it, so that's why I've gone for that. My main line's just 015 power line, which I've pretty much got on all my rigs at the minute. Perfect at the minute for all sorts of F1s and carp fishing, plenty strong enough. Going down my back shot, I always have 2 number 8 back shot, as you know, on all my rigs. And again, that's just dead important to try and hold my rig nice and still, especially as I'm fishing off the bottom and any wind might be tempted to, you know, move my float about either side, and you don't want it to be drifting about. So 2 number 8 back shot. My float is a 4x12 Maggie, and the reason I've gone for a Maggie is there's quite a few brambles across, and I didn't want to use a wire stem float in case I did have a carp run me into the brambles and I'd have a chance of trashing my float, so I've decided for a carbon stem. I've got a little bulk of number 10s under the float. This is just to make up the main capacity of the float, and the reason I have it all under the float is because I want a nice slow fall of the bread rig. In the last little bit, I've just got 2 number 12 droppers above a 4-inch hook length of 014, which I just thought would allow me to get in most of the carp. I did manage to lose one on 014 today, so maybe I should have fished 016, but I thought that was a nice compromise with it going a bit colder. And my hook was a size 16 Super LWG, which is perfect for, you know, a 7 or a 9mm piece of bread. So the next rig I'm going to talk about is the maggot rig, and both of me maggot rigs for long and short were the same. The only difference was about 1 inch in depth. So I'll just run through one. The elastic was a pink hydro. Like you've seen today, I've caught a load of crucians, I've had an hide, and there's loads of silvers in this lake, so I didn't want to use an elastic that would mean I would bump them fish. So pink hydro was perfect. I've lost very few of the small fish when I'm shipping back quick, and if I do again hook a docile F1, plenty of elastic comes out and I'm not going to lose it. Again, 015 main line, 2 number 8 back shot for all the same reasons. The float's a 4x14 Maggie. The depth's around 6 foot, so I need a decent weight of the float. I don't want to go too heavy because you still need a nice bit of fall with maggots. 4x14 is about right in this depth of water. Going down to the shotting pattern, I've got a bulk of number 9s, around 18 inches away from the hook, and 2 number 11 droppers. This is just to bring the rig in nice in the last 18 inch of water. The hook length is 012 Daiwa tournament, and it's 6 inch long. This is just for, again, that bit of fall with maggots. And then a little bit smaller hook, a size 18 Super LWG, which has been perfect for single or double maggot. I've also set a shallow rig up for maggots, and this is just like you've seen today, when them fish have come up off the bottom, them few crucians, and I did manage to catch an F1 on it today as well. It just allows me to catch them fish that have come off the bottom before dropping back on the deck, and I alternate between it through the day. When I'm loose feeding, there is a tendency at times for the fish to come off, you know, and hover off the bottom. So again, nice soft elastic, pink hydro. This is in a short top kit, which I always use for shallow fishing. It just allows me to land the fish a bit quicker. I've got 1 number 8 back shot, just to steady the rig. I'm only using a light float, so that's really important. Whenever I'm using light floats for shallow and a bit of a longer lash, I always use my back shot. The float is a 4x8 winter Maggie, and this is just a really light delicate rig which I use when I'm catching silvers shallow. I've got 1 number 12 under the float, just to semi-cock my float, just because sometimes when you're fishing with these really light floats, it takes a bit to settle them through the surface tension. And then I've just got a strung out shotting pattern of 4 number 11s just in the bottom third of my rig. And then I've got a shorter hook length. I always like a real short hook length when I'm fishing shallow. That's a 3-inch hook length, and again I've got an 18 Super LWG. The final rig is the rig for down the edge, and like I say, I've gone on a bit of a heavier elastic down the edge just because I was fishing next to the pallet and I didn't want to hook a big carp for it to just run me through the pallet and trash my rig. It's just no good, it's not worth taking the risk. So 13 hollow elastic, again 015 main line, 2 back shot, and a 4x14 Maggie. Again, I was fishing maggots on this. The depth's still 5 foot, so I still need a decent float. The only key difference in this rig is the shotting pattern. I've just done a strung out bulk of number 9s. Because I'm fishing down the edge, I just want to be able to set my rig a bit quicker and hold it nice and stable. So that's why I've gone for that shotting pattern instead of a bulk and 2 number 11 droppers. And then I've got an 0.14 hook length and a size 16 Super LWG hook. So I just want to talk about the baits that I bought with me today. The first one is bread. I've bought some Warburton's toasty bread, which is the best bread for dobbing. Just stays on the hook quite well. Obviously I've had to ship a long way, and I did actually catch a few crucians and have some false bites, and it does come off the hook. So you've got to make sure you've got the toughest bread you can possibly have, because you just don't want to be having to come in and out all day. It just slows you down and ruins your rhythm. The bread punches are 7 and 9 mil, and like I say, I've alternated between them two today depending on what sort of fish I was catching. At the start I started on a 7.5 mil and caught a couple of decent fish, but then I've had some Crucian bites and had to step up to a 9 mil. It's just worth having a couple of different sizes to alternate between depending on what sort of stamp fish are in your peg. The next bait is maggots, and I've just bought a mix of white and red maggots with me, and that's been the main bait today. I feel like because it's gone so cold, you've just got to fish with a bait that allows you to get a few bites and go from there. It's very difficult to sit and wait on pellets because you just do not get any indications. So maggots, that has been the key bait. I did bring some micro pellets with me, just the fishery micros. Didn't really use them. I was thinking about fishing pellets across, and I did have a quick go on it, but I've just caught crucians and it just wasn't right. They've just not really wanted to eat pellets today, so it didn't really get used. I've also bought, for the hook, I bought some 4 mil Lakes Expander pellets. They're just a hook bait for over the micros for a cross. Didn't really use them, but I bought some with me anyway. And I also bought a few pieces of corn, again just as a hook bait. So there's a few things that I think I could have done a bit different today. Obviously landing that carp at the start would have been a big boost, would have, took me over £60. But also on that short line today, I have caught a few decent fish, but it seemed like once I'd caught one fish, I couldn't drop back in and catch another. After I'd fed it and dropped in, I always seemed to catch one. And looking back, what I think I should have done is fish 2 lines short, maybe gone an extra section and gone left and right, and then caught one off one line and then fed and moved. And I think maybe later on I would have been able to catch a bit steadier off them 2 lines, because I think with it gone as clear as it has, you can see your maggots sink for ages when you feed them. I think as soon as you caught one, they've backed off, and I think you needed to try and bring them back. So I think by alternating 2 lines I would have caught a few more today. And also I just wish I'd got my head down a bit more and caught them crucians, because they have actually weighed a bit more than I thought. I thought I only had about £15 in my silverfish net, and they've gone £22. So if I had not panicked so much and saw obviously the guy next to me catch down the edge, and I'd have just carried on putting them crucians in the net, I'm sure I'd have been able to push my weight up a little bit more. But I do think £80 was probably not achievable today, but I'm always trying to think about how I could improve what I've caught, and I think that's what I could have done a bit different.